Hi, this is Jay with LifeShown, and today I'm going to talk to you about how I create my worlds in my role-playing games. So, when most people start a role-playing game, they start with a campaign, or they start with a character, or they start with a town. I instead start with a world. I normally pick 4 or 5 parts of the world and come up with a theme. Um, this goes along with what a fistful of dice says with his pillars. Uh, he says that you should have these themes to base your campaign around. Um, I more make it about the world instead. So if the group dies and they want to start a new campaign that goes off on something else, they can still play in the same world and know the background, even if they want to be good or evil or whatever. Um, so, what I normally do is I'll go in and I'll make a very crude map, and I'll pick four sides. Say one's good, one's evil, one's chaos, one's in between, something like that, and I'll start the group somewhere in between all those. Now, I won't fully flesh out all of those places. I will fully flesh out where they start, the little town, and I always play um, low spell power. I always play where the characters aren't that strong at the very beginning. But for each of these main towns that I have the idea, like the evil town will, be full of slaves. It will, have courts that are unjust if it does have courts. The one I'm playing in now, if you are if you are accused of a crime, you are just sent to fight, and if you win, you're fine. If not, then you're dead. So this just gives me a basic theme for each side of the map, and then I'll take those themes and outline the amount of land that each of them has. So if one is completely good, and I kind of flesh out a bit that they're more full of peace, I'm actually going to give them less land because a warlike tribe would have gone in and taken some of them. And then I will, in the game I'm doing now, I have a little sub map as well that is, the drow and the dwarves and stuff like that live below ground that can actually own the same part of the map. But this allows the players to move around and to make choices that if I just made a campaign, they might not be able to do. I know that if you run a campaign, you can allow your players to have a choice, but if you have certain things set, you are going to railroad your players. It might not seem like that to them or you, but like in my game, they've actually destroyed 3 towns, and they've allowed a new god to be put in the world. In a normal campaign, that might not be okay to do because you would have had so much stuff set up in that town that it just wouldn't have been doable. So you would have had to have had the town guard save them or something along those lines. But they were so annoyed at a town not being helpful that they allowed a druid to send a tree in and destroy the town. So now that town is completely gone off the map. So they can never go back there. Well, they can go back to the ruins, I guess, but that's about it. But I think it really depends on the type of group you are going to run. Like Matt from a Fistful of Dice, and I'm going to put a link below for his create a campaign clips. He tends, from what I see, to run games that have a clear start and a clear end. My games aren't like that. They have a clear start, but they have no end set. I will have key points, like there are key fights that they have to accomplish, stuff like that, but there is no end. There is nothing that says, okay, your group is done. I normally keep groups for months, for years, so it's just running a campaign is not enough. So I run worlds, so even if they get tired of their players, or in my case they die fairly quickly. So if the entire group dies, which rarely happens, but it does, then I give them a choice. They can either stay along the same path or start in a new spot in the world that I created, or we can try and make a new world. So this gives them a way to pick a new path to take. Where if you just make a campaign, that's not something that you can really do. I think that if you're just running short-term groups, that's completely fine, and that's the way to go. But for those of us that run long-term games, and games that go for months and months and years and play each week, it's more important to set up the world and stuff like that instead of just one campaign with one specific set of bad guys that you actually have to go and take out. So with that said, I do suggest you go over and check out A Fistful of Dice, and look at all of his clips, because everything he says there is at the very least of use and will get you thinking. I have used a lot of his stuff.